It's Jim Monahan, Chris Swendeman, the 2 Minute Drill podcast. Here we go, Swendeman. It's got to be the coaching. And we're talking about the Buffalo Bills, who I think were embarrassed yesterday by the Kansas City Chiefs. And some of it boils down to some really bizarre calls by the Buffalo Bills coaches yesterday.
Yeah, when you add it all up at the end of the day, I mean, hindsight is always 2020, and you could Monday morning quarterback all we want. But when you look at the final score and you look at some of the plays where they didn't go for the extra point twice, and the certain plays, I think the Chiefs just were ready for this moment. This is why they've gone back-to-back Super Bowl wins, and they're going for a record third in a row because they are just ready for those big moments. And I like Sean McDermott. I like Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator for Buffalo. I think they're innovative, but I think their defensive personnel was lacking, and it showed because they couldn't stop Mahomes. And I think when it came to having to improvise based on the defensive fronts that KC was bringing, they didn't do what they needed to do to just get over that hump and finally beat KC.
And a key injury on the Buffalo defense yesterday didn't hurt. But Chris, what surprised me the most was how unprepared, especially in the first couple of drives, how unprepared the Buffalo Bills offense looked. This is not a bunch of rookies. This is not the Commanders coming in being overwhelmed. Wow, the big scene right here. They're not ready for the big stage yet, the Commanders against the Eagles. This isn't that. The Bills have been there before. The week before, the game before, watching what the Bills did, and
Mhm.
Josh Allen, you're thinking they're going to steamroll Kansas City. He nearly throws two picks. He can't hold on to the ball. They're an absolute mess. They were completely, at least to these eyes, completely unprepared for the big moment yesterday.
It's funny because they've been there, like you said, and you would think they would come out of the gate flailing. And they just looked like they were in a turtle shell. Josh Allen did not look like himself. He settled in, but those few minutes in, I mean, between the almost interceptions, the almost fumbles, it could have been disastrous by the end of the first quarter for them. It could have been even worse than it was, and they were lucky to keep it close the entire game.
And there is that one call. We've been talking about this before. Kansas City seems to get the calls, and they did in this one case where two officials disagreed with each other, and that call went in Kansas City's favor on a fourth and whatever inches,
Fourth and inches, right?
right? And that changes the complexion of the game. But if you go back and you look, and we've been talking about this, you look at the
Mm-hmm.
way Buffalo played the first couple of series in that first quarter, like you're going to let that call, one call, decide the game? I'm sorry, Buffalo Mafia. It doesn't work that way. You can be upset that you didn't get a call here and there yesterday, but you should be more upset with the way your coaching staff prepared your team and the way your MVP candidate came out, especially in the beginning of that game.
The thing is, when you're playing the champ, and Josh Allen said it, yeah, I wanted to go give him a hug last night. I was watching the press conference afterwards, and he said, to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. And he didn't take, he took the responsibility, made no excuses, but you could see he was hanging his head. When you're playing a team like Kansas City that has been rolling, I mean, for the better part of 2 years, you can't make a mistake. You can't let the refs affect the game, but you can't make a mistake. You have to go in and play flawless football. And Buffalo just didn't do it yesterday, sadly enough.
Meanwhile, if you're a New York Giants fan, well, both games had a little bit of importance for you because in
Oh,
the Eagles Commanders game, there's Saquon, who looks like the best running back of all time now that he's wearing the green and white of the Eagles. Pardon the accent. And then
perfect, spot on.
you you come to Kansas City with Steve Spagnuolo, defensive coordinator, who made one great call after another. And of course, he used to be with the Giants. And you're sitting there as a Giants fan going, okay, just end it for me now.
There was no safe place for a Giants fan yesterday. No matter what game you watched, there was, the ghosts of Giants past. And it just for any Giant fan, I mean, at some point, do you just throw up your hands and go, all right, enough? I'm waving the white towel. I'm out because this was just had to be so painful. I mean, to watch not only say, I mean, the Saquon thing much more so because coordinators come and go, they move on, but I mean, yesterday it was just on display for Giant fans to just feel like they were getting kicked in the butt even after the season was over, after a very long season for the Giant fans.
And we've talked about this in past weeks. It is a quarterback driven league. It really is. So the running backs take a little bit less emphasis. But that said, the season that Barkley had for Philadelphia, one of your hated rivals, really, really, really has to stick in your craw. And if you follow the Scarlatta twins
Mm-hmm.
on
Oh,
Instagram and
yes.
social media, you know that the two of them have really, really been up in arms over what's happened with the Giants and the performance by Saquon Barkley
Right.
over the past few weeks.
Oh yeah, I mean Giant fans. Like I have a bunch of friends that are Giant fans. They're all like beside themselves at this point. Watching Barkley, I mean, in the regular season, you go, all right, he's doing really well. He could have almost broken. If he would have played the last week of the season, he probably would have broke the single season rushing record. It probably easily. And now you get him to the playoffs, and now here he is going to the Super Bowl to play against Mahomes, Steve Spagnuolo. It just, as a fan, when do you say, all right, enough? I waved the white flag. I can't take anymore.
Well, you and I were talking before we came on. Never mind just waving the white flag
Right.
and saying enough. When do you finally say, I can't root for this team anymore? I can't root for this organization anymore. Do you finally just say, that's it? I'm going to whatever team it happens to be.
We need a transfer portal for fans at this point. I'm dead serious. You think I'm kidding? I am living it because I am at that point, Jim. I will tell you this honestly on our podcast right now. I will tell you, as a Dallas Cowboy fan, since I've been a kid, seeing the great Tom Landry roam the sidelines for the Dallas Cowboys, I am at the point where I have had enough. Jerry Jones finally did it to me. Is the part of the Brian Schottenheimer hire and all the ridiculousness of the Jerry circus that goes along with it. This is where I'm at. This is where I'm at, folks. Jerry last year, his famous words at the end of the season, I'm all in. I'm all in. Well, Jerry, you know what? Enough of us had enough, and I can't speak for other fans, but I am all out. I am a free agent and I am looking for a new team and a fan base to join because I'm telling you, it just there has to be a breaking point when the owner or enough happens where they don't invest to give back to the passionate fans. That as a fan, why are you feeding into it at some point? Go find, don't be miserable. Go find another fan base. The players do it. They're not getting what they want from a team. It's called free agency. Why don't the fans have it?
How much Cowboys gear do you have between hats and jerseys, t-shirts, whatever? How much do you have?
I've accumulated a lot over the years, but unlike most fans, you're not going to see me on YouTube. Yeah, no.
Here you
See,
go. You can
yeah,
burn
I
it all.
know. With one poof, one spark, it just goes up in flames. But you know what? I felt like that recently, where that would be the answer to all my troubles. But you're not going to see me on YouTube lighting up, all my memorabilia. But you'll never see me, wearing it because I'm absolutely done.
Hold that sign back up again as we close out. Back of the way a little bit from the camera there.
Oh.
There we go. So Swendy's all out, and I've got the flamethrower. That's his little one, but what the heck for his Cowboys memorabilia. And that wraps up episode 8 of the 2 Minute Drill podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, we beg of you, please hit subscribe and follow and all of that other good
Yep.
stuff to keep us going here. Swendeman, it is the Super Bowl edition next week, so be
Oh
prepared.
boy. Oh, absolutely. I'll be bringing the A game. That's for sure. Talk to you next week, Jim.